Food is such an integral part of our lives. Our very existence depends on it. We gather around it forging social and familial ties. We spend billions of dollars to enjoy or hours and hours preparing it. Yet, many of us take it for granted. It is our current narrow way of thinking, the mechanistic view, that prevents us from recognizing the repercussions of mindless mass consumption. As we consume bottomless basket of fries or binge on ice cream, we don't stop to think about where our food comes from or how many other people in the world would love to have this much food constantly at their disposal. Food can't be taken for granted any longer. It is such an integral part of our lives and society that anything we do that pertains to it has many consequences, most of which we don't recognize. Once we learn how to acknowledge these consequences, then we will be able to make much better choices when it comes to not just food, but everything regarding our health, our society, and our ecosystem. To start making better choices, we need to understand systems thinking. Systems thinking recognizes the interconnections and interdependencies of all the pieces of a system, allowing us to foresee many of the effects of our actions that we would not have otherwise noticed through a mechanistic view. Thinking systemically enables us to find solutions that combat many problems at once.
There is one large system within our ecosystem that has big but little known implications on the health of our environment. The animal agriculture industry is wreaking environmental havoc throughout the planet, yet not many people recognize it as one of our biggest polluters. The meat industry harms our air, our bodies of water, our forests, and ironically, our food supply. The animal agriculture industry is so well connected within the ecosystem that everything it does, every action it takes, and decision it makes reverberate throughout the system, causing major harms. The harm is not just to our environment either. Because so much of the world's food and water supplies goes to the livestock, many humans go without food and water, which some scholars have found leaves the doorway to terrorism wide open. In the rural areas of some developing countries where famine abounds, many young men leave their family farms for the big cities in search of food or work, which they most often fail to find. Dejected, discouraged, and angry with the system, these young men wind up recruited into terrorist organizations. But food security can prevent this frightening chain of events, and shifting to a plant-based diet is a major part of the path to global food security. To contribute to a healthier, better fed, less polluted, and more peaceful planet, one thing we can do is decrease our dependency on meat. Veganism would be the optimal life choice for effecting major positive change throughout the system, but simply reducing the amount of meat we eat can have a tremendous effect.
With a systems thinking perspective, we together as a community can help contribute to ecological sustainability by buying local, which will create a systematic change towards other systems such as our economy and social system. We can begin by looking from a universal perspective of where our food comes from, how it is produced, and brought into the community to be sold. Food prices have been increasing because of production costs covering material, labor, and transportation. Our food is transported all over the country in various ways to reach our community, whether it is through air, sea, and/or land. Products traveling less distance creates positive effects by lowering prices, increasing freshness quality of the produce, as well as reducing emissions released into the air. If everyone supports their local farmers, it will help sustain the economy. Supporting our local farmers will keep money in our economic system and develop interconnectedness relationships within the community. The following video portrays the benefits of buying local.
One of my favorite things to do is go to the farmer's market on Sunday mornings.
When you're getting food from a local producer, when you're getting it from within 100 miles, when you're getting it after it's been picked freshly that morning, it's going to be so much more flavorful.
I think the greatest joy I get from farming is when people tell me how incredible that tomato is, how incredible that potato is. It's about having a relationship and taking responsibility for your food. You know the person who's growing your food.
In the farmers market, there's so much opportunity for us to really acknowledge and honor the people who grow good, clean, whole foods and bring them to us.
I know when I show up at the farmers market that the food is local, that it's good for me, and that my dollar is going basically back to the farmer who grew the food.
We are helping to strengthen the local economy, supporting our neighbors. It's up to us to ensure that farmers can continue to do the work that they do and provide us with the fresh, healthy, local food that we all deserve.
With a population as large as America's, the demand for resources is understandably high as well. However, Americans waste upwards of 35% of the resources that come into the country and produce as much as 50 tons of garbage by the age of 75, all because of the singular way we think. Too many people believe that if there aren't any immediate consequences to them directly, the consequences aren't important. Or even worse, there are no consequences at all, but this couldn't be farther from the truth. Rotting food that is thrown out produces a large amount of methane, a greenhouse gas 25 times more harmful to our environment than carbon dioxide. On top of that, this wasted food, which totals up to 150 trillion calories each year, could have instead gone to people in need, like the 10 million that die from hunger-related causes every year, or the 700,000 that don't get enough nutrition to support daily activities. These things occur right in our own backyard, not only in some far-off country as some like to believe. Overconsumption and wasteful living leads to an unhealthy ecosystem, but all that needs to happen to fix this is the recognition of our surroundings. Preventing waste like this to occur increases the overall health of our society, and reusing and recycling allows for resources to be put back instead of just thrown out. If we can realize that what we do affects everything in our system, then we can change the outcome of our actions. Reducing our dependency and consumption of various resources will lead to a more sustainable society and a healthier environment. One of the key concepts behind each of these systemic approaches is mindfulness. We need to be mindful about the food we eat, how much we eat, where it comes from, and the damage it does to the ecosystem in obtaining and transporting it. All three of our solutions, less meat consumption, buying locally, and wasting less, requires mindfulness. But it is not enough for a few of us to be mindful. As a whole, we need more people to think systemically about the ecosystem and the consequences of their actions.
This video is meant to spread ideas and concepts of this way of thinking. We need society to venture beyond the confines of mechanistic thinking, and one way to get the systemic ball rolling is to start a conversation. That is what we hope to accomplish with this video. With social media on our side, our communication networks are so strong, so interconnected, so systemically complex that we could use it to spread our message far and wide.
Social media keeps people throughout the world connected, meaning it could allow us to share our ideas across the globe. As more people hear our message, the more systemic thinking people throughout the world will do, the more mindful they will be, and the more good they will do. Social media may allow for enough idea sharing to get people on the systemic track of thinking. And before long, global, social, and ecological sustainability could be attained.